Welcome to Soul Stories, where every tale touches the heart and inspires the soul. Amelia Grant was not the kind of woman who ever let herself slow down. As the CEO of Neurotech, one of Silicon Valley's fastest-growing software companies, her calendar was a battlefield of back-to-back meetings, investor calls, and crisis control. Sleep, for her, was a luxury reserved for the weak, or so she often told herself. By the time she boarded the red-eye flight to New York, exhaustion had caught up with her in full force. Her sleek black blazer couldn't quite hide the faint slump in her shoulders, nor could her practiced smile disguise the dark circles beneath her sharp, determined eyes. She carried her laptop like armor, her phone still pinging with late-night messages from her assistant. "Miss Grant, can I take your coat?" The flight attendant asked politely. "No, thank you," Amelia replied automatically, her tone polite but distant. Her mind was already elsewhere, thinking about the upcoming pitch to a panel of international investors. The presentation had to be perfect. There was too much at stake, months of development, millions in funding, and her company's reputation hanging in the balance. As the plane taxied down the runway, she opened her laptop, the familiar blue glow illuminating her tired face. She scrolled through slide after slide, making mental notes to tweak graphs, rewrite key talking points, and add a more emotional hook to the closing statement. "Numbers aren't enough," she reminded herself under her breath. "They need a story." A few rows away, a baby began to cry. The sound made Amelia's head throb, and she pressed her temple lightly. She hadn't eaten a proper meal all day, just coffee and adrenaline. The soft hum of the engines, mixed with the rhythmic rustle of seatbelts clicking, began to lull her into an almost trance-like state. She told herself she would rest her eyes for just a minute. Just one. But as the plane lifted into the night sky, fatigue wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. Her fingers went slack, the cursor blinking on the half-finished slide. Her breathing slowed, and without realizing it, her head tilted sideways, gently landing on the shoulder of the man seated next to her. The man glanced down in mild surprise. He wasn't sure whether to move or let her sleep. After a brief hesitation, he simply smiled faintly and adjusted his arm so she could rest more comfortably. Amelia Grant, the woman who never slowed down, had finally surrendered to sleep. And with that small, unplanned moment, the night took a turn neither of them could have predicted. The man didn't move. Jack Turner had long ago learned that some moments were too fragile to disturb, especially ones like this. He glanced down at the woman now resting against his shoulder, her features softened in sleep. Her laptop lay closed on her lap, her phone screen still glowing faintly with a half-finished presentation titled Investor Deck, Neurotech. He had no idea who she was, but something about the tension in her face, even as she slept, told him she carried the weight of entire worlds. Jack sighed quietly and shifted just enough to keep her comfortable. He was no stranger to exhaustion himself. Between running a small app development company from his home office and raising his 6-year-old daughter Lily on his own, his life rarely offered quiet moments. This red-eye flight was supposed to be one of them, a chance to gather his thoughts before his own big pitch in New York. He was set to present his educational app, MindSpring, to a small group of angel investors. It wasn't glamorous, but to him it was everything, a dream built for his daughter and kids like her. As the plane hummed steadily through the clouds, the flight attendant approached with a soft smile. "Would you like anything to drink, sir?" she whispered. Jack shook his head and then, after a pause, gestured toward the woman sleeping beside him. "Could I get a blanket, please?" For her. The attendant returned moments later, handing him a light gray blanket. Carefully, Jack draped it over Amelia's shoulders, making sure not to wake her. For some reason, he felt oddly protective of her, as if he understood, even without words, the kind of fatigue that came from giving too much of yourself to everyone else. He leaned back and gazed out the window. The moonlight spilled across the clouds, painting them silver. His mind wandered to Lily, her bright eyes, her laughter, the way she'd hugged him before he left. "You're gonna do great, Daddy," she'd said, holding up a hand-drawn picture of their app's logo. He smiled at the memory. Next to him, the CEO stirred slightly, her head shifting closer against his shoulder. A faint trace of perfume, something floral yet crisp, reached him, and he froze, not wanting to wake her. It felt strange, sitting here with a stranger leaning on him, and yet there was something peaceful about it. Jack Turner didn't know who Amelia Grant was. He only knew that for once, the chaos of his world, and maybe hers, had paused mid-flight, and neither of them knew that this quiet, unintentional moment would change everything that came after. Amelia woke to the faint clinking of coffee cups and the soft hum of conversation around her. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The steady vibration beneath her feet, the faint scent of brewed coffee, the low glow of cabin lights. It all felt strangely dreamlike. Then realization hit her like a jolt of caffeine. Her head was resting on someone's shoulder. She jerked upright so fast her laptop nearly slid off her lap. "Oh my God," she gasped, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear, cheeks flushed crimson. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." The man beside her chuckled softly, his voice calm and warm. "No harm done," he said, handing her a paper cup of coffee. "You looked like you needed the rest." Amelia blinked, momentarily speechless. "You bought this?" He nodded. "Figured you might need it more than I did. You were out cold for at least 3 hours." Her first instinct was to protest, to insist on paying him back, but the quiet kindness in his tone made her pause. Most people treated her with careful respect, sometimes even fear, once they recognized her. But this man spoke to her like she was just another tired traveler. It was refreshing. "Thank you," she said finally, taking a sip. The warmth spread through her hands and chest, grounding her. "I'm Jack," he said, offering a hand. "Jack Turner." "Amelia," she replied, shaking it. "Grant," he smiled. "Nice to meet you, Amelia Grant." There was no flicker of recognition in his eyes, none of the usual spark that followed her name. It was oddly comforting. They began to talk, first out of politeness, then out of genuine curiosity. Jack told her about his daughter, Lily, how she was 6 and had recently started reading chapter books, how she liked to draw on everything, even his work files. Amelia found herself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in weeks. "So what brings you to New York?" she asked, intrigued. He hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm pitching a small education app I built. It helps kids learn through interactive storytelling. Nothing big, just something I've been working on at night after putting Lily to bed." Something in his tone, humble but passionate, caught her attention. She leaned in, curiosity piqued. That doesn't sound small at all. For the first time in a long while, Amelia forgot about her own stress, her company, her endless deadlines. Instead, she found herself captivated by a man who built dreams for children instead of empires. And somewhere between his words and her laughter, a spark of something unexpected began to stir. Quiet, warm, and real. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing their descent into New York. Outside, the early morning light spilled through the windows, washing the cabin in a soft, golden glow. Amelia closed her laptop, her presentation finally polished to perfection. But her mind wasn't on market forecasts or profit margins anymore. It kept drifting to the man sitting beside her. Jack was scrolling through his phone, reviewing notes for his own pitch. She noticed his fingers tremble slightly, the nerves of someone about to take a leap that mattered deeply. Something about that sincerity tugged at her. She'd met countless entrepreneurs, ambitious, confident, often driven by numbers. But Jack's motivation was different. It wasn't greed. It was love. Love for his daughter. Love for an idea that could make learning magical for kids like her. "Can I see it?" Amelia asked suddenly. He looked up. "See what?" "Your app. Mindspring, right? You mentioned it helps kids learn through stories." Jack hesitated for a second, then unlocked his phone and opened the app. The interface was simple. No flashy animations, no gimmicks. Just a gentle blend of colors, illustrated characters, and friendly narration. He handed her the phone. Amelia tapped through the first lesson. A little fox guided children through reading exercises disguised as adventures, rewarding them with stars for solving puzzles. It was charming, intuitive, and surprisingly sophisticated beneath its playful surface. She felt a genuine warmth bloom in her chest as she scrolled deeper, reading through the code notes and design explanations. "This is incredible," she murmured. Jack shrugged, embarrassed. "It's just a side project. Something I built for Lily when she was struggling to focus during reading lessons. I figured if it could help her, maybe it could help other kids too. Amelia looked up, eyes wide. "Jack," she said slowly, "what would you say if I told you I want to invest in this?" He blinked, stunned. "Invest? You mean you're serious?" "Completely," she said, smiling. "I see potential here, real world-changing potential. You've built something people will care about, and I want to help you take it further." For a long moment, Jack said nothing. Then his expression softened into disbelief and gratitude. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to," she said softly. "Just say yes." As the plane touched down, passengers began gathering their belongings. Amelia Grant, the woman who boarded this flight drained and distant, stepped off not just with a business idea, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe even something that looked a little like hope.